Attorney Zion, by again welcoming you to our institute. I've always felt that this conference room is really huge. And I always sit there and work, and that's why I'm very lonely because I'm alone on the table, you know, and working. I'm like, yeah, the place is so big. We need to bring some people here that hey, whatever you do my office, table, I'm my office here. But today I realize it's not as big as I always thought. Sorry for the small space. Before I introduce our keynote speaker, I'd like in a special way to introduce Maddie. Maddie, please stand. Well, probably know, as we always do, Maddie is from the US. She's from Cincinnati. She's an intern here with the Institute, so she's studying along with us here. We're hoping that Maddie will grasp a lot. Maddie is in the Human Rights Center in law school, and she's quite happy to be here. She's excited that we're doing something on, the death penalty, and maybe that will help all of us to also help her in her work as she's here. So please, feel free. You don't know who else will go to Cincinnati or somewhere there. You always have that link. And you also welcome to the Institute as Judge Vega, thank you very much for accepting the invitation. Judge Vega and I come a long way. And we slept in the same building for quite a while in graduate school. And we have our own frustration then because, Judge Vega and myself went to a place where we could hardly find rice. And we have to eat the African food here, we can't find it. We're not easy there. But anyways, we'll manage, and today we are back here. Judge Vega is always blaming me for one thing, but I'm always happy that we did it. And that is, we had very good job offers in the US, both here and myself. And we passed through the law school, and they put very well to keep us there. And we're very tempted to accept the job because of the way they describe the stuff to us. But at a point, I would say, I don't mind these people. We got our home to go back to. Our country needs us. But when you come back to the country, it can be easy. Sometimes you say, well, they so they for that, but we're happy to be here. And this is one of the things that we are happy for, what we're doing right here now. For Haj, Bullet, big sister of ours, she's always been there. She tells you what it's like, and she moves on, never keeps anything on her heart. We're very happy that you're here as well. Now let me talk about Justice Wright. Justice Wright is my teacher. He's one of my seasoned mentors. He's a disciplinarian. He taught me how to close the door 1 minute after my class starts. Yes. Because that's exactly what he did. But Justice Wright is a jurist. An acknowledged jurist. He is a lawyer par excellence. Justice Wright has served in many capacities in this country. Not only has he taught at the Louis Arthur School, but he served in the justice system. Seasoned prosecutor. Very straightforward. Wright is a graduate of the Louis Arthur School of Law, as well as the University of the graduate. He worked as a judge for several years, circuit judge. And to be a circuit judge of the civil law court in Liberia is to really be a judge. It's not only about the temptations, but the workload. It's not easy. And the workload is not only about hearing and deciding cases. It's about teaching the lawyers while you are deciding cases. And honestly, he did that for us very well. He is not one of the persons in this country who you have to introduce. Justice Wright goes to the ranks of the Supreme Court of Justice. And to stand you on the bench, we knew that we had somebody respectable and very honorable on the bench. Both his conduct and his knowledge established that. Justice Wright represented us fully. ECOWAS Court of Justice. If you were to come here tomorrow morning, you will see Justice Wright's photograph right there. And the photograph you will see there will be his representation of Liberia and the ECOWAS Court. Justice Wright is a humble person. When you rise to that level and you return to your country, you want to remain behind your gates. But he is not that type. He interacts and mingles with just anybody and any person. And any of you here, that means if you have a legal question, call 518-103-086. I know that number by heart. He will answer you. And you ask him, he will teach you on the phone. That's the kind of person we look for in this country. So on behalf of the Institute for Constitutional Research, Policy and Strategic Development, I'd like to present our keynote speaker who agreed to do an in-depth research and will not take any side, but will enlighten you a little bit about death penalty. It is my hope for the nation from the wealth of knowledge that we have here today. Once in a while, you'll get this. Take advantage, because there may not be a tomorrow. Justice Wright, thank you very much. You're welcome. The floor is all yours. Thank you very much.
Babu, other personnel of this institute, honor, Peter, Professor, I know you don't know everything, but I saw you. And if not, then you still high. Fellow citizens, ladies and gentlemen, I've written a paper which I've written a paper that I hope you have or will have. It's 6 pages. 6 pages long. I hope you have. And if you do, then you will follow me, because I do not intend to keep you too long. I presented to join Professor Babu here this afternoon, so I'm here. We'll be here until the end of this session. Like Dr. Babu said, my presentation will not advocate for or against the death penalty. We'll just throw out a few facts, a few ideas, and the rest will come through our discussions that we're going to have. So I hope you will follow me with a copy of the paper I sent asked the Institute to reproduce. I will not read. It is there before you, the information is there. Talking about the death penalty, let's go straight to the business for which we are here. We have not been able to trace a clear-cut source of the death penalty in terms of the starting point and what instruments brought it to life as a means of punishment or deterrence, whichever way you look at it. And like I said, in the end, there is merit on both sides of the argument, and we will expect to hear from you, our students, as to the merits and demerits in favor of or against the death penalty. But what we are sure of, in fact, I threw in there that we may not know the starting point of the death penalty, but for those who follow a Christian faith, it is commanded in the Old Testament of the Bible that he who takes innocent life shall be required to give up his. It's in the Bible. So there is not, I have not found a convention or a specific law in terms of tracing our history of the death penalty to say this is the starting point or this is the source. But they say an eye for an eye. You do me, I do you. So we've heard some of that before. And so the death penalty has been around for a while, and my research, the paper I would have shown you that the concept was that punishment is to be meted out in proportion to the gravity of the offense. And so, if you kill, then we kill you also. To hasten forward, the proponents of the elimination of the death penalty would argue that putting an offender to death has not deterred other people from killing or from committing offenses that warrant death. While that may be true, persons who share the other view will say, well, even though it didn't deter you, but if you commit, you will deal with you as well. Crimes have been designated as capital offenses. Crimes that warrant the death penalty have been categorized as capital offenses. Capital. Capital means the word cap, C-A-P. It means we want your head. That's the history behind capital offenses, your head. And in ancient to medieval history, your head was chopped off. What do you call it? Capital. We want your cap, your head. We're taking your head off. Capital offenses. So the death penalty applies to capital offenses. And what are capital offenses? And we list them down in a small write-up. Of course, everywhere you talk about capital offenses, the first crime you will see is what? Murder. 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 First one. But treason is also on the list. When you decide to overthrow or undermine a government, that's treason. And there are times, and there are instances in which the penalty for treason is death. Our statute on treason categorizes when the death penalty is applicable, when a prison term is applicable, or what levels of punishment. Our statute graduates the level of punishment. I tell you a joke. In times past, we were on the Supreme Court, and there was a treason case, and the defendants were convicted in the trial court. And the judge said, for peace sake, for reconciliation, instead of giving you what we're supposed to give you, we reduce it from 20 years to 10 years. They were not satisfied, they appealed. They appealed to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, all right, the judge had no authority to reduce what the law provided. So what the judge took off, we put him back. So the Supreme Court increased the term of the year back to what the statute provided. So the death penalty has been around with us for centuries. And in my view, it is not likely to go away. It's not likely to go away. The death penalty is to be applied when life is lost or effectively lost, and a whole nation state is destabilized, uprooted. That's why in criminal cases, the professors will tell you, the plaintiff, the complainant, is the Republic of Liberia. It's the people versus the defendant. Because when you commit the crime, you commit that crime against the people. You commit that crime against the country, the state. That's why the state is always the plaintiff in criminal cases. So, people who advocate the elimination of the death penalty have gone to great lengths to ensure that the death penalty will be avoided and abolished. I have a listing of countries, especially African countries, that have subscribed to that convention. Under our law, our penal law provides for the death penalty. And we have executed accused and convicted persons in this country. Now, Liberia is among the African countries that have signed on to the Convention for the Elimination of the Death Penalty. We signed it. On our Constitution, there are two steps, two stages for domesticating international treaty obligations. In fact, under the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties, member states have a duty, have a responsibility to domesticate international treaty obligations. By domestication will mean that what you may call the foreign law, the international law, will be enacted into law in Liberia and form part of our law. Now, under our Constitution, the executive branch of government conducts the foreign relations or the foreign affairs of our country. So all foreign treaties, whether bilateral or multilateral or intergovernmental, all foreign treaties are negotiated, concluded, and signed by the executive branch of government. But for that treaty obligation to take effect on our law, the legislative branch of government must ratify. And by ratification, our legislature itself enacts a law, enacts a statute, incorporating that foreign treaty obligation. Incorporates that foreign treaty obligations, and it becomes part of our law. So Liberia signed on to that convention for the elimination of the death penalty, the executive government. But the legislature has not yet passed a statute incorporating provisions of that treaty into our law to make it part of Liberian law. Therefore, technically, legally, we have not yet eliminated the death penalty. In other words, the death penalty under our penal law is still part of our law. We have not yet gotten rid of it. Therefore, where a court sitting in any part of the country to convict an accused person and sentence that person to death, the judgment of the judge will be supported by our law. However, even though we have not yet ratified that convention to domesticate it, to make it part of our local law, by enacting a statute to incorporate that treaty, in practice, and you got de jure and de facto, in fact and in law. Even though we have not domesticated the convention eliminating the death penalty, we have taken steps to observe the tenets of that treaty to the extent that the last time our country, our government, our court executed anybody for a capital offense, meaning we implemented the death penalty, was in the late 70s when President Talbot signed the death warrant for the hanging of the late Allen Yancey and others going out of the case that came out of Cape Thomas, Maryland County. That was the last time Liberia executed people under the death penalty statute. So even though we have not ratified the statute to make it part of our law, but we are conscious of its existence, and we have done our best to avoid executing people. So we got people on death row. That means they've been convicted and sentenced to death. But our executive government has been reluctant, maybe that's a strong word, has been careful not to implement the death sentence. So the death penalty is with us on paper, but in reality, we have not implemented it since the late 70s. And there are moves, which I'm sure you are aware of, to ensure that we cross that last hurdle, to ensure that we go ahead and do it officially, do it formally, to eliminate the death penalty as a law in our books. Now, what will happen? If our legislature passes the statute and adopts such a convention as part of our law, what will have to happen as well? Our penal law will have to also be amended, and that portion related to the death penalty repealed, and then we be in conformity and in compliance with our international treaty obligations. Because under international law, under the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties, every member state has the duty to implement international obligations it undertakes. So if you know in simple language, you're not prepared to undertake or to implement XYZ obligations, then don't sign, don't implicate yourself. Because you will be expected to comply or to honor the obligations you have undertaken. I'll give you an example. The ECOWAS Treaty, right here, ECOWAS in West Africa. We are a founding member of ECOWAS, as well as the founding member of the what we call now the African Union. And the African Union adopted the Organization of African Unity, adopted the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. In that particular instance, we have even domesticated that. So you can go to court now. You can go to court in Liberia today, institute an action based on provisions of the African Charter. Today you can do it. You can do it because we signed it, then we have ratified. And we deposited our instrument of ratification in Addis Ababa. So we are a full-fledged member of the EU under the African Charter. And the African Charter has a provision also for the elimination of the death. So even if we say we have not signed the International Convention on it, we even signed the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights. We've done that. It's part of our laws. But we, the Liberian lawyers, are lazy, and I hope you don't come out to be lazy as well. Because what we have done, or we have failed to do, is we have those international treaty obligations which we have ratified. But we still follow our old penal law. Nobody has been brave enough or adventurous enough to say, look, I'm disregarding the penal law, I'm proceeding on the basis of the African Charter or on the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Those things are there. We don't take advantage of those things. So we hope that you, the new breed, that will be following us, will take up the challenge and challenge our judges. Let them read and know that these laws exist so that they can be implemented. So Liberia can be recognized as one of the countries in compliance with its international treaty obligations. So capital offenses are punishable under our existing law, are punishable by the death penalty. Capital offense, in which your head will go. We got to expression say heads will roll. That comes from old French law. Where they had a guillotine. You lay you there, put the stuff around your neck. They bring a big blade, they bring it down. And your head jumps off. So you're carrying out in the race. So capital offenses are punishable by death. So it is incumbent upon advocates of human rights, because in the human rights regime, we say everybody has a right to life. You've heard that. You studied that. Or you will. So your right to life is being counterbalanced against. So somebody says, well, say you got a right to life, why would you take somebody else's life? So say you took that one, then we take yours too to compensate the other person. See? So your right to life is sacred. Your right to life is in the African Charter, is in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. And so we need to activate those provisions in our day-to-day legal practice, like in criminal matters. In criminal matters. But we're lazy. First, many of us don't read. There's an expression that, hey, you want to hide something from a black man. He said Liberian man. It's from a black man. Put it in a book. Put it in a book. Either you rating form, if I took $100 bill and I put it in my book, and I said, John, please keep my book for me. I will ask you for it when I read it. Or I've got 2 of these books. I'm giving you one. 99% of us will take this book and go and lay it down. And we not even remember to read it. Because if you were to read it, as soon as you turn the first page, you'll see the $100 bill. But you don't read it. And because we don't read, we don't know. We don't know. So I urge you and my colleague presenters here to keep reading. See, keep reading. Because by reading, they say reading makes a ready man. You are ready when you read. You are ready. So you have read, you are informed. Writing makes an exact man. But reading makes a ready man. So I urge you to read. Read my paper. Read the other papers that will be presented. And read your books. The modern technology now got it. People don't need books. Everything on the internet. You want to do research, you go on the internet, get your data, you put it in your room. Some people do it on the phone now. My lecturer now, they Daddy got to buy data from us. What the hell are you talking about data? You lecturer, they talking about data now. Well, I didn't know about up to maybe 10 years ago. The lecturer now telling me they granted an exam, they want data. So I beg you, read and update yourself so that you can become a ready person. When you are ready, the world will receive you as a prepared person. If you are not prepared, when opportunities come, so just push you one side and take Joe Blow who is ready. Since Joe Blow is prepared, the opportunity is yours. You being lazy and not doing anything, go to the back of the line. So we hope that you do not betray the trust that the Institute is providing you by the opportunities of these monthly lectures and your studies as you proceed. My paper is with you, and if there are questions, I will be here throughout until Professor Babu tells me it's time for me to go. I'll be here with you to answer questions, but the prepared text is with you. You go home, you will not read it now. Or even you read it now, you will not understand, or go and reread. When you reread, something will stick. And you will remember this class, you remember this lecture. I will stop here, so you have my paper, and anything that needs clarification, I'll be prepared to go along with you. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Justice. Your right to life is counterbalanced by the right of another person to life. Yes, sir. That is the basis of our gathering here today. Elimination of the death penalty in the wake of serious and unexplained homicides. Implications on deterrence. Mr. Wright, thank you so much for launching us into this discussion. Each side here is evidence and applied legal studies will have 15 minutes each. 20 minutes, you said? Yeah. 20 minutes each. To give your reason. The evidence class believes that we should keep the death penalty, right? Don't change it. The applied legal study class believes that no, never sight. In fact, we should have changed it long ago. What are we still doing with it? Evidence, applied legal studies. You have the professors there. It's Otto Josh Pega, Professor Bullet Pash, Professor U.J. Bright. You have the lawyers there. They have nothing to do with this. Listen to you, and afterwards they will make their comments, their observations, and we'll take off from there and go. Let me say to you, these discussions will form a part of our journal that comes up next month. You may proceed evidence. Who give me the time?
Thank you very much. Welcome, Bright. We're very happy for your presentation, Justice. Judge Pega and other learned legal luminaries in the building. Our professors at law here present, Dr. Professor Jala Babu, and members of the evidence class. If you're a member of the evidence class, just make it known by raising your hands.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our team of discussants, I'm Kula Ian Fofana, and this is Christopher Peters, Henry Lomel, and Aubrey Stevens. A little disclaimer, Professor, permit us that our conversations here this afternoon is only for academic purposes.
Absolutely.
And our views here expressed are for academic purposes. Some of us hold different roles and positions outside of this room, and we hope that our views presented here will not in any way be attributed to what we do or what we do outside this world. Now, I see media colleagues here. I hope that is carried. With that said, why are we here? It is important, and all of us in the Republic of Liberia are governed by the Liberia's Magna Carta, as we call it, or the organic law, that is the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia, that provides for us the opportunity to life. Specifically, Article 20A says, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, security of the person, property, privilege, or any other right except, and I would like all of us in this hall to note the exception, except as the outcome of a hearing judgment consistent with the provisions laid down in this very Constitution and in accordance with due process of law, which is one of our fundamental protection and guidance of all Liberians. Why are we saying? We're here talking about the death penalty and the importance of retaining. So we are arguing for the motion of retaining the death penalty in our law. So my duty here this afternoon will be to give us a brief introduction, and we will also talk about the global context. We will look at our regional context, we bring it down to the local context, and we will also talk to you about the advantages of retaining the death penalty. And for us, we find it very interesting, and you will note that the Liberian Constitution has gone through several processes of review. And in the wisdom of the framers and those learned people who were seated on different panels to review our Constitution have consciously, with their full mind, retained the element that has to do with the retention of the death penalty. Why must we disturb that, ladies and gentlemen? Why? So let's talk about death penalty. Specifically under our penal law, specifically, let's go to Article 50.5, sentence to death or imprisonment for felony. It says, sentence before parole will establish until a parole is established in accordance with the provision of Chapter 35 of the Criminal Procedure Law. The person who has been convicted of a felony may be sentenced as follows. For a felony of the first degree, to death or life imprisonment where such penalty is specified by statute or where not so specified or defined or definite term imprisonment be fixed by the court. And we go further to look at the importance of this because, our argument this evening is not about generalization of death penalty. We all know the importance of life as was read within the Constitution. However, it talks about murder as capital offense. It says a person is guilty of murder if he or she purposely or knowingly causes the death of another. This is 101 criminal law, those of you who start in Bakakami. P causes the death of another human being under circumstances manifesting extreme indifference to the value of human life. I'll start here. Extreme indifference to the value of human life. Extreme indifference to the value of human life. So if someone, we all know the importance of life, and someone willingly, knowingly, with extreme intent to take someone's life, Spirit tell me, who should respect the life of others? So we know capital punishment, or what we call death penalty, as Justice Wright explicitly explained earlier as we listened. It's not today, it didn't start today. It started way beyond the time. Religiously, you find capital punishment in the Bible. I'll just tell you very, very few, because time. Genesis 9 verse 6, especially so with Liberia, even though we know Liberia is a secular state, however, we are very religious. And they highly practice religion in our country, both Christianity and Islam. They have stated some things on death penalty. Genesis 9:6, it says, whosoever shed the blood of a man, shall his blood be shed. For God has made man in his own image. This is not me saying no. Exodus also comes in to say, whoever strikes a man, shall himself feel the strike. And the Holy Quran, Surah 6, chapter 105, talks about, take not the life which God has given, for justice shall be served. So these are religious texts, and the foundation under which the aspect that has to do with is showing that the death penalty routine. Additionally, globally in the world, all of the countries, America, China, 60% of the world today still retain the death penalty in their laws. And in Africa, out of 55 countries, there are 34 that still retain the death penalty on the books, including Liberia. We understand the context of the United Nations. We know globalization is coming. We understand what the United Nations is saying. However, the current status of Liberia with the wanton killing of people randomly, because there is a moratorium on the death penalty, please tell me these things will continue if we do not implement the death penalty. So, in going forward with the advantages, and more specifically on what it means economically, what it means politically, what it means socially, what it means for our prison system, and put it further. But I just want you to remember this now, that life is important to everyone. When we take a life of a person willingly, gruesomely, accordingly with how our penal code has outlined these things, think about that. Just build that image in your head. Young babies. Because in fact, very recently, the Vice President of the Republic of Liberia, Madam Jewel Howard Taylor, very prominently supports the retention of the death penalty, especially so with people who raped and killed young babies with the intention. So distinguished colleagues, Professor, I'll stop here for now as my colleagues will proceed, but please, let's think about this. What will it mean? Should we remove the death penalty now? Even though now there's a moratorium, hear and see the wanton killings every day. Look up most of the time. You hear in the papers, gruesomely too. Please tell me, what is life? If it's important to you, and not important to the next person or the next person's child. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council. At this stage, and building upon our textual evidence in the Constitution and the statute, we would like to introduce what we call expert opinion. We all know we have some of evidence, we know what expert testimony does in helping judges and court to make decisions that will advance the law. And one to us that appears very persuasive is some criminologists, criminologists are concerned about the crime causation, the causes of crime, and how do we regulate. And these guys put themselves together in what's called the classical school of criminology. They've spent some time studying the human conduct and the human behavior about why they commit crime and why they think the crime should fit the punishment that others call the Mosaic law, eye for eye. So they found out that within each one of us, there's this thing they call the felicitious calculus, it's a lighting, meaning the human calculus, which is essentially responsible to sort of determine the pleasure you're going to gain from the commission of a crime and the punishment that will be exacted if you are caught. And then they knowingly indulge into the act. And so this school of thought is arguing that when these people use their mind, they plan, they design, and they orchestrate the crime, the system should exact the punishment that will fit that crime. So bring it home. Recently we saw in the 13th Judicial Circuit, Abraham Winter was convicted for life. Abraham learned that he could get rich and end poverty by using blood. So he went to the community. He didn't just go for anybody. He didn't go for a stranger. He went to somebody who was familiar, who would not suspect his criminal enterprise. And he also needed to wait for the condition to be fertile. He needed people to go to work so that nobody would see the traces. And then he called somebody who can call him uncle. The 13-year-old girl. He said, go in the room and buy me something. She did. So as she left, he went into the room, knowing that when she comes back, she she was carrying the item she purchased inside. He grabbed her, 13 years old, raped her, and strangulated her. She didn't die. He took a shovel, smashed her head. He confessed. He didn't stop there. He took the body, went to the swamp, and dug, buried her, and came back to the community member and helped the family to look for the little girl, as if she's actually missing. So we're saying people like this should be put to death. They do not deserve life because they're taking away life. So to even provide long-term imprisonment, you give them life. They're living, they're breathing. Currently we have about 14 persons. If I went to, there will be 15 as of 2002 that are awaiting death penalty. Because of the moratorium, it can be exercised. So it's not the issue about deterrent, that the law is not deterring. Let me tell you today that the law that we're studying has limits. Law has limits. The law cannot restore injury. If your hand is cut, the law cannot take your hand and piece it back together. The law cannot go to any individual criminal and say, don't steal a phone. The law depends on humanity, us, to implement it. So if we falter, we cannot say that text, that literature is not deterring enough. It is us who are not implementing the laws. So as we conclude here, and our colleagues will go ahead to demonstrate the benefits, whether economic benefits, whether it's reducing prison population, whether it's giving victims closure, they will really through that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, my name is Henry Dennis Lemaire, and I'm from the evidence class, and we believe, as has been espoused by my two colleagues, that the death penalty should be retained. And as narrated by my colleague Chris Peters, he mentioned a case where a guy murdered. Not only did he murder, but he raped a young girl, buried her, and pretended to be in search of the very girl he knew he has buried. Such a man being placed in prison, we believe, will do, among many things, increase the economic burden of the government. A man has murdered a girl, is placed behind bars. The parents of that girl pay taxes. Monies from those taxes will be used to feed the victim that have murdered their daughter. Money paid by the taxes from the victim's family will be used to house that murderer. Money used from the taxes paid by the victim's parents will be used to buy what is referred to as person clothing for that victim. We believe retaining the death penalty will reduce the undue economic burdens on government. Another thing or another benefit that retaining the death penalty brings is deterrence. Regardless of our stature, our financial capability, the number of securities we have, one of the things that common sense tells us that we are all afraid of is losing our lives. That is why even a man with hundreds of securities will choose at times to ride a vehicle so that nobody suspects that he's in his armor-proof vehicle. We believe that if the death penalty is retained, it will deter not just the criminal, but will-be criminals from committing similar offenses that have been committed before by others. So we believe that one of the benefits of retaining the death penalty is deterrence. Another thing is it reduces overpopulation of the prison facilities. Now someone will ask, how many persons are convicted for capital offenses that you will argue that it will reduce the prison compound? If they are pre-trial detainees, 50 for example, and we have one capital offender in prison, if you were to
penalizing by death, it means that there will be 50 instead of 51. So even the subtraction of that one reduces the number of persons in prison. That's one. Number two, we talk about the economic burden that it will reduce. Someone argued that it is more expensive to carry out a capital offense as compared to keeping a person in prison for life. And that is untrue. Liberia as a common law jurisdiction, we look at in the United States, people are no longer convicting or carrying out capital punishment by hanging. They use lethal injections, which is very immune, and people feel less pain when they are dying. And we believe if you compare the cost of feeding, clothing, and housing a person who has committed murder as compared to buying the injection that will carry out the death sentence, we believe that it is cheaper to carry out the death penalty as compared to keeping someone in prison. I will submit for my counsel to complete. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Marguerite Stevens. 2 minutes I have.
Okay.
But
One
the
minute,
2
1
minutes.
minute, wrap up.
Okay. So as we're talking about death penalty and what, because we want to routine it, I look at the picture out there and I see these 2 children happy. They're happy. So how do you think that mother would feel if she looks at her child and she sees a picture of a baby and somebody has brutally murdered a child? And then you're going to keep that person in prison for life. And that person, guess what? Their children can come and visit them. They can come and visit them. This is not being emotional, this is being realistic. That person can come and visit their parent. The victim's parents will no longer see their child. But that mother can come and see her son who has murdered another mother's child. So if we take the economic situation here, we're going to be feeding that person all their lives. So what if the man lives to be 90? Or do that? So we know the legal system evolves to maximize justice. We know all of that. We know some people are saying, because there's political reasons too, people want to see the death penalty eliminated because they know people want to hear that. But again, like we say, we all said the same thing here. We are here to retain the death penalty. We are here to retain the death penalty. Thank you very much.
This is not final argument. But this is convincing argument. You could have to thank evidence class. And you reflected lots of, evidentiary issues here. So we'll see what happens from the other side. But clearly, we know for sure that you took the law, you brought in expert witnesses, and then you gave us tangibles as we talked about in the class. Yes. Look at that picture. So let's see what the applied legal study is going to tell us here, at least on your side, as necessarily speaking to them, because you have that time.
I was just beg my colleagues to stand up here because we're doing presentation.
You doing presentation? Oh yeah, show there?
Yeah.
It's already there?
Yes, already.
All right. Yeah, show.
I don't want to say this.
Who? Oh, you want to send this? Well, here we don't really have this. We need more than C, so let's go. All right. I'll give you enough.
We got back up there, le même mot ici. Chris, we got almost there. Just in case. The alphabet is right here.
Your Honor, Justice M. Wakens Wright. Your Honor, Josh Vega, other legal luminaries, Your Honor, Dr. Jala Babu, fellow colleagues, one and all. My name is Ibrahim Zia from the Applied Legal class of the Navy Adult School of Law. I'm here with three of my colleagues investing in judicial research.
So I'm student Robert Henry Johnson II from the Legal Applied class. My name's James Mami Ma.
Thank you. So other members from the Applied Legal class, just make a note and raise your hand. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we are here to defend the preposition that death penalty should be eliminated. So our Honorable Justice Wright just drill us through a lot of history surrounding the origin of death penalty. So not to bore you, we'll just go straight into the crux of the matter. So basically, we want to begin from ancient history because Justice Wright already drilled us through. So we want to begin from ancient history on the origin of death penalty. So death penalty is just as far back in the 18th century BC in Babylon, where King Hammurabi was the first to codify death penalty. So from the 18th century, we saw that death penalty was also practiced in the 16th century, during the Draconian period in Athens in the 7th century, and on and on and on. So let's come to in our present days. There are several countries around the world where death penalty or capital punishment is still in effect. We are Liberians, and it's often said we like to borrow from America. So for the applied legal class, we are being taught to look at the law and see how we apply the law to real life situations. And since we are in contemporary times, we thought it wise to use data to speak to the efficiency of implementing death penalty versus not implementing death penalty to see as to whether or not it reduce the commission of crime. So we want to begin with the United States of America. So currently in the United States of America, 27 states in the U.S. still practice death penalty. Capital offense is still being practiced by 27 states in the United States of America. That's the great United States of America. 3 states, Delaware, New Hampshire, authorized execution, as I speak to you as of this day, by hanging, by the use of electric chair, and the rest of other measures such as leather injection that I will call it on the other side. The United Kingdom has taken substantive steps to see how they go about eliminating death penalty. Of course, they carved that in the protocol in Article 13 of the British Human Rights Act of 1998. But as of yet, even with the United Kingdom giant step to ensure that death penalty is eliminated, the essence as to serve deterrence so as to reduce the commission of crime has still not been met. And you're going to see that in data that we're going to present it. So I will just ask it, I want you to please just one quick and just. Okay, in Africa, currently in Africa, we have about more than 15 countries in Africa. This data is from Statistica 2020 that still practice death penalty. You see Nigeria, Egypt, those are African countries where they still have death penalty. But as our colleague from the other side said, the essence of effecting death penalty is to self-deterrence. And I heard the other colleagues saying it's for economic benefits or to reduce economic burden or whatever. But I want us all to pause a while and think about human life. And I hear people talking about economic benefits or economic burden, whatever. Citizen in Liberia, as far as we know in Liberia, like Justice Rest said, since the 1970s, there has been no execution as a result of death penalty. As of 3rd September 2009, Mohammed Sonefu Sharif from Bomi County was sentenced to death, but he has still been held on death row. The execution had not taken place because Liberia has committed herself to several instruments, such as the second protocol on the elimination of death penalty, which is yet to be ratified by and domesticated, as our justice just told us. So as it stands in Liberia, we still have death penalty on the books. But for us, we think that whether or not death penalty is on the book, the elimination of death penalty is the best way forward. For several reasons. One, constitutional reasons. Article 11A of the 1986 Constitution of the Republic of Liberia states, all persons are born equally free and independent and have certain natural, inherent, and inalienable rights, among which are the right to enjoy, and the right to life, and the right to liberty. This implies that capital punishment to some extent is repugnant to our Constitution. The issue of morality versus death penalty. In the U.S., in 2019, the U.S. Criminology Institute conducted a research on states. Please forward the slide, please. Next one, the next slide. The next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Just go all the way, please. The next one. Okay, right here. So a research was conducted in the U.S. by the Criminology Institute in 2019 to see whether those states that still have death penalty in practice, where there was reduction in crime rate, in the commission of murder, to those states that did not have death penalty in practice. And it may surprise you to know that, as our colleagues are saying, it will self-deterrent. In those states where death penalty is not being implemented, there's a huge reduction in crime rate as opposed to those states where they have death penalty implemented. The data cannot lie. Just look at it. You see, there's a huge margin between those states that have death penalty as a matter of ensuring deterrent versus those states that do not have death penalty. But that is not the only data. Let's move to the next one. The murder rates in the U.S. in states that have death penalty versus states that do not have death penalty. In states that do not have death penalty, is very low, almost 3 times in states that have death penalty. So if we are to go by our colleagues' justification that the essence of executing people by way of death penalty is a self-deterrent, then the purpose is defeated. Because data cannot lie. So if you are saying, look, okay, we will execute so that the next one will not convict, but look at the stats, look at the data. It's very practice. You see, from 2009 to 2010, over the period of 10 years, even up to 2020, you still see the huge gap in states where they do not have a death penalty. You see the reduction in crime rate, you see the reduction in murder rate, and those states where, according to our colleagues, the implementation of death penalty is to self-deterrence, the commission of crime is still very high. And then we also went to the next slide, please. And then we also went to the next slide. The sources all over there. The criminologist's opinion. We all know criminologists around the world are people who study crime and the rest of it. Over 500 criminologists were interviewed. And can you see the graph? How many criminologists do execution lower homicide rates?
you have only 5% of that number saying yes. Over 75% experts in the area are saying, maybe SAP people is not going to know what they want. So we believe that to eliminate death penalty is the best way to move Liberia forward. Given that we have committed ourselves to a lot of international treaties that talk about the civility of human rights and the right to life, and as enshrined in our constitution. So I'll just quickly turn what my colleague Makari to add one or two. Thank you.
Thank you, Makari. So just to buttress my colleague, I will ask a few questions. Show me a legal system that is flawless. Show me a court that hasn't recorded a decision. Show me a lawyer or a judge that hasn't wrongfully applied the law. Show me a perfect legal system, and I will encourage you to execute, to kill on human beings. We have systems, legal systems, and we have experienced lawyers here. People take the law, people apply the law the way they see it. We are not perfect. The way we think will appeal to us and to our case, we are not perfect. There is a risk that when we allow death penalty, what's going to happen in some instances, we will take away innocent life. If that defense counsel wasn't a good lawyer, as we say, that innocent life will be taken away. So we want instances like that. Before we even imagine killing somebody, let's first decide to fix our system. We have flaws, and we cannot take away innocent lives. So that is the point I want to make. Speaking about morality, are you saying I can kill or you can kill? Is that what we're saying? Yes, I can kill you. Yes, you killed that child, so I can kill you. We are the same. If you are saying I, as a state, can take away life, are you so different from the criminal who took away life? Are you measuring what you would do against what the criminal would do? Do you want a society where people can be transformed and people can live and people can have harmony? Or do you want to take the stance that a criminal has already taken? Are we comparing what we do? Are we equating what we do to what criminals do? I would say no, we shouldn't. There are so many other ways to bring back our society to normal and to give order, and to instill order in our society, other than taking away life. So just in 2 points, by saying one, that we can't do what criminals do because we as a state are not criminals, we can't kill. And two, we have systems where there are possibilities that innocent people can die because of the way we apply the law. So we cannot take away innocent life. I will tell you my colleagues.
Thank you, my learned colleagues. I will start by firstly discussing the issue about the prevailing laws on the books for which Liberia is a part of. And let me just send this caveat up. We should stop joking around here. We are a member of the international body. We are a member of the ECOWAS body. We are a member of a lot of international bodies where we went and we had various meetings and we signed up onto treaties and other documents that indicate us to making sure that the elimination of death penalty be wiped away from the face of the earth. Now, I will start by saying, setting emphasis. The first one has to do with the international law, Article 6 of the International Convention on the Civil and Political Rights that was adopted in December 16, 1966 by the General Assembly Resolution. And in that particular document, Liberia, which is a member of, and I will just read all that particular article. Every human being has the inherent right to life. This right shall be protected by law. I read it again. This right should be protected by law. No one should be arbitrarily deprived of this life. That's the first time when it came to. Hello. That's the first time when it comes to that. Then we went forward. What this thing is saying to us that no one, I don't care whatever the situation may be, no one should be deprived of their life. That means we should not take what we have not given. We should not take what we have not given. You cannot take on a life of a man. So I go down to our constitution. The Liberian constitution also made reference to that. Then I heard my learned counsel or my other counsel saying that one of the serious issues here is that in Okande she spoke about serious crime. What is serious crime? So serious crime in other cases are known as political, economic, drug trafficking, and you name it, there are a whole lot of things. So we cannot only limit this issue of serious crime and attach it to ourselves and say, well, we talk about serious crime, so when someone killed, we should go and kill. But rather, we should look deeply into what is the meaning or the framework of these documents have to say about this particular aspect. We have to be very careful when it comes to that. So to add a voice to my councils here and to my colleagues, I for one and our team here stand by the side that death penalty should be eliminated completely because we sound out to a treatise, we sound out to documents that are international, and we also said in that particular document that we sound up to, for which we have evidence to prove here. One of those are the Amnesty International document that we sound out to. We also have the death penalty under international law, and we also have the UN General Assembly document that was signed, and Liberia is a member state of. So I'll stop here for now, and I will say that we should all take note of these documents, and we should read very carefully because we are part and we are a signatory to these documents. And by virtue of the fact that we are signatories to these documents, there is no turning back. Liberia needs it, and there is no way that we can say an eye for an eye, because an eye for an eye is destroying our entire world today. You do me, I do you. So I stop.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we just heard the practical solution. Two things are still on the board. Now, you know, we discussing practical studies. One thing we say is that, look, use the law to convince the decision maker. Can you imagine if you presented this graph and say, look, all these things we're talking here, the people say killing somebody cannot be deterrent, because after all, those who have studied this over the years have shown that it's not the case. Even when we go democratically, we see that we have a vote here, we have 97 out of 3, out of 103% against, right? But I got afraid a little bit that I kept looking at Justice Brown and said, this man thinking so away with the other argument. And the argument was, show me any judge who didn't get me a mistake. Show me the system that is flawless. If you show me all of these things, I'm telling you, you know what? I will stand on your side and say, yo, what if I show you all of them? You know? Then you definitely got them on my side. Also, so we want to see how all of those will play out right now. Each side has just 5 minutes for rebuttal. So, evidence, rebuttal, nothing else, do not add anything but rebuttal. Yes.
Thank you very much. Right now, police, when convicted criminals listen to our learned colleagues, they will be rejoicing right now. They will be very happy. to commit more crimes, and especially those since the 1970s, since the last execution was done with Yancey, because Liberia is under the moratorium, that's why you see random killings of people. Very recently, people started mourning Princess Cooper, and a lot of other people, and my colleague talked about the young lady who was raped and killed. Just have those pictures. But to be specific on those reporters, our colleagues here present a lot of things. First, we saw a graph claiming that it's from somewhere without specifically sourcing the source, because we're trying to find where it is. And then he did mention this state. He said 27 states, which is true. And he's very right when he said data cannot lie. And I'll tell you, data cannot lie. But what my colleague failed to tell you all is that he mentioned those states in the criminal report. Did he mention the crimes that he's mentioning?
No.
He did not tell you crimes. He did not tell you the states, the anatomy of those states. In America, young people, black men, go to jail for very simple crimes. So if you mention, we are talking about capital punishment here for God in heaven's sake. We're not talking about general crimes. So if you look at the general anatomy of those states, they will tell you the people who are incarcerated in those prison systems, they're from petty crimes. And you cannot use that to blanketly say that because of that, it doesn't bring deterrent. But I will not do his homework for him.
No need.
And you also mentioned that Article 11 says, talks about the importance of our fundamental rights. And he's right. And you also mentioned that our criminal law that talks about the death penalty is repugnant to the Constitution. I want to question my counsel's person who's teaching in who's teaching constitutional law. I want to question that, but I wouldn't do that. But to say that the penal code is repugnant to the Constitution is comical. Because this very Constitution that he's talking about, and this very penal law, reckoning it in the review process that I talked about, if you think that in the supremacy, questioning the supremacy of this Constitution as set in Article 2, this is the fundamental issue. This Constitution is the supreme and fundamental law of the Republic of Liberia, and this provision shall have binding force and effect on all authorities throughout the Republic. My colleague over there talked about the United Nations Convention. He lists a lot of conventions. You know, when you have limited knowledge on international development, you understand these things. But if you see what the United Nations system is about, all of these things, to be specific, the United Nations UN General Assembly resolution that they mentioned is specifically, it gives states their authorities, and the article I just read tells us that no law whatsoever that is against this Constitution can supersede this Constitution. Yes. No. That is the ABC of constitutional law. So we shouldn't even go there. So by the very United Nations stuff that they wrote, it says the United Nations Human Relations Council passed a resolution condemning the use of death penalty for instances of, please listen to the instances, blasphemy, adultery, consensual same-sex and gender relation, and it called for an end to use of death penalty based on race, ethnicity, mental or intellectual disability. It did not stop countries from implementing the death penalty, especially for capital offenses, especially for offenses against the state. And the United Nations, ECOWAS, the Man River Union, and all other organizations that Liberia is a party to respect our sovereignty.
So quickly, the police.
Sorry, just to wait there. Liberia has not ratified. Let me make that Liberia has not ratified. There is a process of international.
So basic constitutional law principle tells you that you don't read the articles of the Constitution in absolution of the other one. Right. The police cited Article 11, right to life. Even the people that have been killed have right to life. Article 20A gives the condition under which even the state that has the power can take away life. It's not arbitrary. The state cannot wake up and say we'll kill John Brown. There must be the conviction of the crime, and that punishment must be exacted as a result of the court and due process. All right,
We'll just do this quickly. I will only stress 3 points. I'm not going to summarize those 3 points. Economic benefit, economic burden. They said it's going to reduce the economic benefit. Taxpayer money will not be used for prison service. We just saying you can compare human life to money. But that is not easy. They talk about deterrence. And every data we produce on this presentation, the soldiers can be checked, the soldiers can be verified. In fact, the soldiers are even involved. So I'm quite sure my body was very paying attention when I see it in live. But we move on. The next one is currency over pride. Now we talked about, once you take the life, only they mentioned the system that employs. In December 2020, the United States of America, North Carolina, we do a plan with big data. We don't just talk. Rolling Law of North Carolina spent 44 years in prison for rape in 1976, and they realized that he was in the tour. 44 years of your life, and you say he takes life. You think no one is flawless? But that is not only. I'm going to give out 8 more persons that have been convicted of crime they didn't commit, and as a result of that, if they were killed, innocent life would have been lost. Maybe you can take a pen and paper and take this. Carlos Delano of Texas, 1983. Ruben Carlton, Texas, convicted in 1985. Larry Gunn of Missouri, convicted in 1981. Joseph Odell of Virginia, convicted in 1986. You can Google it. And many more persons have been convicted. And you come to realize they did not commit the crime. We are saying, if you just execute people, if you just kill people, you risk taking the lives of many, many innocent persons who are sitting in that court. Thank you very much.
So we can give ourselves I teach 2 classes, so look at this, I'm impressed, I'm very impressed, I'm impressed, another president, but from the layman perspective, I am very, very, very excited that we have people of substance in this country who could take up an issue and discuss it from every perspective and make the decision maker even more confused as to whether or not to decide which way. But at the end of the day, we'll have to reach a decision. At this time, I am not going to comment on the presentations, besides what I've said. We'll have our professors here. Quite experienced. We're going to give them a chance. We're not kind of call them up, at the end of the day, can say something different. We have Dr. Tega, we have Professor Bullet Hash, we have Professor UJ Bright. We'll give them some chance. Anybody can go first. If you want to make an observation, if you want to make a comment, whatever you want to do, please go ahead.
Maybe I'm the least experienced, but I think I'm the most radical. I speak for generations and for longevity. Because in Liberia, we've had the practice to think about today. And by the time the day breaks, the day is over. We sign agreements for generations and we want to benefit from it now. So we don't think. So every time somebody comes to power, you test your agreements and it has a problem, so you have to review. I would say that I'm impressed with the presentations. I'm impressed because there's a lot of work that went into it and it was taken seriously. And I'm happy. I'm also happy to see women. I'm not a gender biased person. I went to school with boys. I took STEM all the time. So I believe that we are mates and I don't believe that a woman is better, a man is better, but I believe we complement each other. And I don't believe in anything specific for women. I'm a proponent for boys. Because I have a reason. I don't talk without my religion. I believe God is male. And he rules through the male. That is what I believe. And I went through scripture and found out only once in Judges 4 that the men were afraid. And so they asked the prophetess Deborah to go in front to take them to war, even though she had prophesied that they would win. And they said they were afraid, go in front. She said, I will. She told them that they would say a woman won the award, they say it's okay. But she didn't hold it for long. So I believe that women are incubators, but men are the head. Unfortunately in Liberia, and because we follow everything the West says, or everybody else says, our men have been debased.
Thank you.
Because they don't take the responsibility.
Thank you. May you live forever.
So as the speaking goes on, I realize that everything we want to talk about in Liberia is what has been said from outside. Even the data that was given from the outside.
Exactly. But it's
There's a reason why. We don't have the ability to develop our own data. And you know why? Intellectual work cannot be done on an empty stomach.
Absolutely.
Professor Babu, we are hungry. And I'm not saying hungry because there's no price. I'm saying hungry because when you think about your bills and you think about what you do, many of our lawyers, we have been accused of being lazy, I agree. It's not that we want to be lazy, Your Honor. This is my uncle. Besides my professor, he was my professor too. I know too that if you bring a bag in class and you went out to the bathroom and you came back after he entered into the class. No, but this is really, what he was trying to do for us is to prepare us for the courts. If you're in law school, you didn't prepare for the courts. But I believe that we need to look at Liberia holistically. What works for us? Do we really know what we need? Are we just self-centered? Because you can't see yourself. But we are looking at ourselves, so we're not looking up. You going for a law degree, what will you do with it? Wear suits? And you have to make money by somebody suffering. Yeah? Either I have been cheated, or I'm trying to cheat. That's where you get hired. At what point you will say, no, don't cheat. We have a commercial judge here. We have a former associate justice here. Some of the cases they heard should not have even gone to court in the first place. Then we're talking about the death penalty. Fine. I don't think that there's a way forward one way. But we have to look at it holistically. Why are we going to this extent to commit such crimes? Liberia is unique to the rest of the world. We're not the same. First of all, we are all settlers. We have no roots beyond the setting. We don't want to search our roots. We don't want to understand where we come from, what makes us tick. Why are we just, I have seen revised laws that they even forgot to move some of the names of the countries that were in those laws and they brought it for the first draft. Professor, you know what I'm talking about. Yes. You understand what I'm saying? We need to, as you walk the streets, look around you. Why are they committing these crimes? Have you all forgotten that we are nation traumatized? That our brains have been rewired? The lady was talking about this crime that was committed in Maryland. We did not shake. Because it's acceptable to you that such crimes can be committed. So it's easy for us to talk about the death penalty pro and con. But we are using data from the wrong way. What can we do individually where we sit to help our children, to deter them from doing the things? Because Liberia has to restart. And we have to restart through the law. Am I saying something? And I believe that as when we choose to be lawyers, we choose to play God in people's lives. Because I'm sure you have learned by now that there is one judge. I read in my law book, I don't know which law books you are using now, that God is the final arbiter. Okay. So what may be good for Liberia may not be 100% good for Guinea, but we can find a balance. We need a balance here. We need to accept the fact that we are traumatized. When you are traumatized, your brain is rewired. Your reaction to things is different. How many of you notice that when there is a shooting going on in the day, people run to it?
Yeah.
But the normal man runs from it. Exactly. But we have no value for life as a people now because of what we have gone through. So we need to be conscientized as lawyers. And through us, we can conscientize the people around us, the market women. It's not the money. If you do quality work, money finds quality. So I'm hoping that these discussions, Prof, will be further than here, and we will take what we have heard in our communities and help each other, because Liberia is all that we have. And we cannot claim first of everything, and we are the poorest and the most backwards. Are you on generator yet?
Yes, we are, but don't worry.
No, I'm just saying that
Yes.
to point out to you that just to bring electricity, nobody's concerned. LEC has become a part of your house. LEC home. It's because, listen, this is a serious problem. This is a serious problem, and it's part of the whole package. It's part of the whole package. It's part of the whole package, and many of you will hold positions tomorrow. And I'm glad you are preparing yourself, but don't think that graduating from law school is the answer. Who you are and what you bring to the table will be your answer.
I see. Well, let me just say something about right. I'm not saying we're losing in the classroom, but you have so much work to do very soon. You may not find so much in the classroom because he's already nominated to be a judge. Right.
Thank you, Dr. Babu, and thank you everybody for inviting me over. I see some of my media class here. You don't want to say it. Anyway, the presentations were all good, and I would just dive straight into the point on the comments. That's what I was invited for. So for evidence, you did a good presentation. I mean, let me just start general, like the scholarship on the death penalty was good. And evidence, you did a good presentation on the economic benefits in maintaining the death penalty. It makes some sense in our thriving economy. I mean, I keep some money in jail at the cost of the state. And for applied legal studies, I really like the statistics you presented on the death penalty as a way of reducing crime. It shows that you show some more empirical evidence to back your arguments to the fact that the death penalty actually is serving as a means of some form of deterrence, and crimes are being reduced instead of the death penalty can be applied. But both sides did not actually connect the arguments to the team for today, or part of the team for today. So the team for today was elimination of the death penalty in the wake of series of unexplained deaths. So how is the death penalty convicted in unexplained death? Exactly in the country, I didn't see any argument to that effect. And both sides did not actually present a clear critique on the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the second protocol. I mean, those two international instruments, Liberia signed it, the ICCPR was rectified, but the second protocol had not yet been rectified. So I was looking for an argument from that perspective, but on overall, thank you.
Then boss. The law is good.
I got a few minutes, and I will use the first 3 to acknowledge Mr. Justice Wright. Counselor Professor Justice Wright, everything said, but on a personal note, he's a mentor, he's a big brother, he's a friend. We are easily tempted to say colleague, but I always tell people the likes of Justice Wright cannot.
I will never.
Will never be my colleague. He is, as to me, in a special place. So, Wright, thank you that you got us here. Now to the presentations. They were all good. We are not grading you per se, but food for thought. Death penalty would deter. But deter who? Are we stepping aside from the belief that each individual
has in his mind a degree of criminality to be buoyed by situation. If you kill me because I've killed, and you deterring me, or you deterring someone else who has not done the act, placing him in a position not to do it. Do you make a determination as to when he reaches the boiling point to spill over? Ask yourself. Or you don't kill. Shaming. So we'll put you in jail for some time. We will release you. You come to the community. It's sufficient that when people say, when they see you coming, they are having their children. So you get shame. And because of that nature of them outcast, other people who see you actually being treated as a low class get deterred. Because you are alive. They see the impact of your punishment on you. Do I want to be like him? Or do I want to be like her? So in a way, I'm saying this to say, yes, we are biblical. So an eye for an eye. But here is what I say to people. If I hit you on your right eye, and you hit me on my left eye, you owe me one. Because I hit your left eye. So I come back and hit your left eye. You come to hit my right eye, your finger touches my face. You owe me one. I didn't touch you. In essence, I'm saying an eye for an eye could lead to unending problems. How? My father killed. So you killed my father. At the slightest opportunity, I said, okay, you the one pull the rope on my father's neck. It's by law. And make no mistake, I'm saying it. As a judge, we are authorized to legally kill people. Because we sentence people to death. Applied legal studies said, by the state making a determination to kill, is the state not criminal? That's the question. Because it's the state that makes the decision. That if you kill, it must be killed. On the other side, who are you in the first place to reduce the citizenry of the state? Population control. Population control. Evidence says it will be minus one criminal. But it will be argued, right? So we're talking about deterrence. You kill, you are killed. Does that harden me as a criminal to want to kill because I know what the ultimate is? You will kill me. So I'm offended by a family of 12. I kill all. You kill me, I'm just one. The decision to eliminate the death penalty in my mind has not been reached. Nowhere. Because even in the articles that you read, it said with a caveat, arbitrarily. You cannot do it. That means it's still debatable. You cannot kill me because I'm a Muslim or because I'm a Christian. I got my right to religion. But even the religious books themselves in the Quran, it is written, you stick to your religion, I stick to mine, and Allah will decide. So who are you to kill me? On religious purposes. So the framers said, no, for this you cannot do it. I did not elect myself to be a Bassa man. You cannot kill me because I'm Bassa. Those are the civil and I call it political rights. But if I kill, am I fit to live amongst my fellow human? Because then I become a threat. I could kill again, but is killing me the solution? Can I be rehabilitated? Perhaps. Perhaps not. And so as we leave from here and we are making preparations to engage our lawmakers to undo or to do, let us bear those different facets in mind. And I think Prof. Babu, these are the things we thought about when we came back to Labrador. No, problem is I have fun, and I will tell you just. So all the offers were made. You can stay, you will do this. Well, you can teach 1 year to the law school since you all have been up there. But going back to teach, we can do this, we can do this. And so one day I asked the dean of our law school,
KMTV, Freedom Radio, and the Institute page.
and she made a mistake. Chan, what has Labrador got to offer you? At this point, because we are there, come out of war, what has Labrador got to offer you that we in America not offering you? Or which you want to go back? One question. Can I, Chan Eden, ever be president of America? I was just going to the extreme. But that's reality, extremity. No matter what they in America, no problem. He goes there once in a while, as we all do, engage in some elections here and there. But I will always be a Liberian. The laws in Liberia should be for Liberia. And I'm borrowing from Professor Hatch, borrowing from her, let our laws be in the context of us. Let it not be rushed. Let it not be outside influenced. But we are hungry. Hungry people do not do intellectual work. Hungry people will always look up to the hands that feed. But Dr. Babu and the staff of the Center, PhD, thank you. I think this is more than academic. It's thought-provoking. It's policy development initiative. And as I sat here, I look at all of the things there. I think they are good ideas. Elimination of the death penalty in the wake of unexplained death. But here's the catch. If the deaths are unexplained and the perpetrator are not found, who you killing? Who you gonna kill? All right? So even in the absence of the unexplained death, do we? Because, who was it? No. That's evidence, right? Evidence, and you look up. Don't you want to see your child? So if you want to see your child, what's about the victim's parents? When they want to see their children? Or if you were to kill the perpetrator, when the children want to see their father that you killed? So there are arguments. So as we go on, please let us develop the argument and move it from argument to reality. And that reality should find a place in our roots, in the context of our culture, if any. We don't know whether we are culture. You don't know. It's so articulated, so skewed. So we are lost people. Everywhere, whether you only on that, like we say we're going into the movie industry, by the time the screen opens, you hear the Liberian actors say, "I, my friend," we invoke Nigerian organ because we shame of ourselves. This is one area where we need not be ashamed of ourselves. Let's look at it and discuss it so that when we realize it, it's something that generations to come will respect us for. Thank you.
Well, I just like to, Prof, all right? Just take 1 minute, 2 minutes, say anything.
Necessary. Well, just to congratulate you and the staff for such an exercise, practicalizing the training that we offer is equally as important, if not more, than just the lectures. And I think the students in both classes have picked up and will pick up additions to their skills and their abilities, because exposing students to academic discussions that could have policy implications nationally, I think is commendable. And I urge all of them, all of you students, to apply yourself and do well. Because some of the issues you will discuss will face you tomorrow, and you could be people in positions to decide some of the issues we're talking about now. So don't take it light, and don't play. Don't play. You never know where any or either of you will land tomorrow. And no knowledge is wasted. We need not come up with a conclusion tonight. And I don't think we are in a position to come up with a conclusion tonight anyway. And like I said, the merits on both sides of the argument. So we go forward, and I urge you to buckle up and do your academics, and don't be sluggish and slow and lazy. Apply yourselves, because this could be a stepping stone to better things tomorrow. But if you're lazy and just carefree and think that your professors are wasting their time, it will face you tomorrow when you get outside. It will face you. So I want to urge you to apply yourself and to do well. And to do well, like somebody said, come on, focus in training for me to bring people to the court. I'm a trial lawyer, I'm a courtroom lawyer, and so my focus is always on bringing people to the court. Professor Babu then, to train you to teach and to be professors all of you. I've seen you to go before. I haven't seen this. So I want to say thank you for the opportunity, and I wish all of you good luck and God bless you.
So before I say thanks to the professors, our professionals here, our teacher, I'd just like to ask the class to join me to say thanks to the members of this institute and the law office, who actually are the ones that do this job. And I'm just guiding the process. So I will say thanks to them in many ways, and I'm sure they have helped us a lot. So you guys can stand. I know I have the others here, our members of the institute in the front, and can stand. So we say thanks to you. You all know that
So thank you.
sometimes we're running around crazy and shouting like, louder than the loudspeaker, but at the end of the day, we get things done. So thank you very much for your support. Without you, this would not happen. I want to say thanks to the professors, all of you, the professors and all of you, especially to Brian, for the incisive comments you made. I believe very much the students have gathered a lot. One thing I know about the law school, they never ever make you feel good. The professors don't. They tell you as it is, but don't feel bad about it, because it's a way of building you, of strengthening you. So for tomorrow, you can be a better lawyer, you can be a better citizen, and things like that. I want to leave you with this from Proverbs page number 6. And because he told us to do so, we've already scanned it and sent it out, so it will be distributed to all of you electronically. So there should be a problem. A paragraph I'm about to read is just on page number 6. And it was a concluding paragraph. And that is why we should leave and understand that, because we'll not only be dealing with our communities and our colleagues in the room here, but we'll also be looking at those we have relationship with in the legislature, as well as in the executive. Let me read this. In concluding, the imposition of the death penalty or the eradication thereof is a topic that requires sufficient scholarship, research, debates in the context of the Liberian culture, and in conjunction with that of international laws and treaties. If we are not familiar with our own laws and the controlling international laws and treaties on this subject, it will be difficult for us who are walking around and the members of the legislature and others in government are looking and say, hey, you're in law school, can't tell me this thing here. I want to ask you to familiarize yourself with those instruments, so that when you speak, you represent the law school, and you are ambassador for the generations to come. Let me thank you very much, and I believe that Attorney Sion has an announcement with respect to refreshments, right?
Yeah.
Please. Thank you very much for coming, and let's all give ourselves.
So we can't overemphasize the thank you very much, because I think just saying it won't even serve the purpose. But on behalf of CRPSC, we want to say thank you for your time. We know this is 1 hour class, but you have spent even more than 1 hour, and we have learned a lot. I must say, I learned a lot from you people, and I was so much wishing to hear the justice speak, and all of my professors today was like a replay for me. So thank you again. We have something small, just a little refreshment, so you can just come out while we hang out and, mingle and talk one-to-one. We can just grab something to bite.